Okay, people, it says it all. No, the burqa or the hijab is not compulsory. It never has been. It's just the crazy Western converts. They are not fruitcakes. Middle Nation with Shahid Bolsen on 93.3 FM Borderlines. Rule of law versus rules-based order. This is what a serious intellectual looks like, people. Take note.
He is one of the most important, critical and interrogative voices in today's dystopian world. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome. His name is Shahid Bolsen and he's the founder of the Middle Nation movement. Shahid, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's my honor to be here. It's nice to see you again.
It is our absolute pleasure, honor to have you because, like I said, you are one of the most important and interrogative voices. So let's start very quickly. The first thing I want you to do is to listen to this and you'll open up the conversation. Let's go.
This bargain no longer works. Let me be direct. We are in the midst of a rupture, not a transition. Over the past 2 decades, a series of crises in finance, health, energy, and geopolitics have laid bare the risks of extreme global integration. But more recently, great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage, financial infrastructure as coercion, supply chains as vulnerabilities to be exploited. You cannot live within the lie of mutual benefit through integration when integration becomes the source of your subordination. The multilateral institutions on which the middle powers have relied, the WTO, the UN, the COP, the very architecture of collective problem solving are under threat. And as a result, many countries are drawing the same conclusions, that they must develop greater strategic autonomy in energy, food, critical minerals, in finance, and supply chains. And this impulse is understandable. A country that can't feed itself, fuel itself, or defend itself has few options. When the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. But let's be clear-eyed about where this leads.
That was Mark Carney, lady.
That's a Muslim woman. Where's her burger? See, I'm not trying to be cockhead or smart ass. It's just, you all got it wrong. I'm sorry. It's all propaganda. It's all rubbish.
Ladies and gentlemen, when the rules no longer protect you, you must protect yourself. He's talking about the rules-based order. Shahid, I saw you snickering. What did you make of that? Because that was a speech that spread everywhere. It was applauded all over the world. But him...
Okay, before it goes on, I'm just going to explain something about the burger. The cookers over here are like, no, we have to wear it as part of our religion. No, it's not. Okay? Just so you know. Now, this generalisation has to stop because we have a generalised way of speaking. So they generalise about us. Generalisation is what's causing most of this conflict. You need to find a different way of terminology, a different way of defining what is radical Islam and differentiating that from what actual Islam is. Because lumbering them all in the same basket, of course they're going to be pissed off with you. How do we feel when they do it to us? Okay? I heard Aaron Molan say that the Christians are radical. I kind of felt a bit attacked on that. I'm not radical. Not by a long shot. I don't go out and associate with people because I'd like to remain grounded in some kind of traditional sensibility. Hello, boys. We doing, man?
Here's the thing though.
No, mate.
I don't know about you.
Hurry up.
Have you experienced a single thing about the global south? Not a thing. Did you?
Well, no, but obviously by implication, he is talking about the global south. But I think it's more important. I think I would like to actually talk about this whole concept of the rules-based order, because
Yes, please.
this is not a phrase that I grew up with. When I was growing up, we talked about the rule of law. This is what we talked about. We talked about the rule of law. So I think it's important to talk about the language, because this is actually where it starts. Before you talk about, say, Venezuela, or you talk about the ICJ, or any specific cases, you have to start with the words. You have to start with the terminology. You have to start with the framing, because the words changed, and no one seems to have noticed that. The change wasn't accidental. Nothing is accidental in geopolitics. Nothing is accidental, especially with regards to words. When you stop talking about the rule of law and started talking about a rules-based order, this means something, and you have to really, I think, try to clock that shift in language. Because otherwise people just hear rules-based order and they think, oh, it's the same thing. It means the same thing as rule of law, just different phrasing. But it's not the same thing at all. It's fundamentally different, fundamentally and substantively different. Rule of law means something very specific. It means the law is above power. It means that the ruler is under the law as well as everyone else. It means that principle is above power. It doesn't mean whoever is the strongest gets to make the rules. It means that even the powerful are subject to the law. This is the idea that they put back in the old days in the Magna Carta. It's the foundational claim of every legitimate legal system that ever existed. That even the ruler, the government, the whoever, president, prime minister, they're all under something. They're all under the law. It's universally applied. The power is not self-authorizing. But rules-based order is a completely different structure. Rules have an author. Rules have an interpreter. Rules have an enforcer. The moment that you say rules instead of law, you have to ask the question, whose rules? Whose rules? Who designed these rules? Who made these rules? They were made by whom? They're enforced against whom? And they're enforced by whom? This isn't a question that you have to ask with regards to law. You know, the answer with regards to the law is universally accepted legal institutions. But when you're talking about rules, it's a very different thing. You're talking about whoever is the one making the rules. That's the one who...
Yeah, okay. For example, I have rules in my home and you have rules in your home, or maybe you don't have rules in your home. Now, whatever rules or what goes and what doesn't go in your home, I'm obligated to abide by that in your home. Same as you in my home. Same as if somebody else's kids come and stay here with my daughter, will they have to be respectful in our home? I'm not going to make them do something that would be inappropriate or something that they wouldn't ordinarily do in their home, but I also won't put up with nonsense in my home. And if they play up, it's like they're not coming here again. Which is fair enough when it comes to immigration, same thing. Absolutely, same thing. But from where are these people migrating from? This is what we have to look at. From where are these people migrating from? Clearly, not from where he's from. And he's a Muslim Brotherhood leader, big time. In the ranking and pecking order of things, I would class him to be above, well above Malcolm X, well above Muhammad Ali, who are Muslim. Now also, and when we're talking about the interpreters and who's telling the story, okay, now what we say is something somewhere else that we cannot verify, or vice versa, there's the philosophy of Schrodinger's cat, isn't it? If we cannot verify or debunk what we're being told, then both are true at the same time. So we probably should not close our mind off to the fact that, oh, this is right, because that's what I was told. But what if you're getting bad information? So I don't bandwagon. I don't do that. I don't stand around clapping for people. I clapped for that lady today because I can verify that. And she is right. What she said was spot on. I don't just start a clap just to get the rest of the room clapping. Yeah, I don't catch vibes. I assess the situation for what it is.
Enforces the rules and against whoever they think is violating the rules. So when they change the rules, or when they change the language, I think that we should have noted that. But I think that a lot of people just let it slip by. That we've just sort of merged from talking about the rule of law, which is universally applied to everyone, large and small, powerful and powerless, the ruler and the ruled. Now we're not talking about that anymore. And I think it's important to note that. And Carney is expressing something, how can I say this? He's expressing something about the fact that, well, you know what? Let me actually just explain it this way. When you talk about rules-based order instead of rule of law, when you're talking about rules-based order, that translates to know your place and do what you're told.
Bang! There it is. I know it's a 30-cent production, but the intel is good. The difference between social cohesion and village, community, public peace of the public in a functioning, lawful community versus social cohesion, which is coerced by legislation in a rules-based order. One has a lot of friction, the other one works by itself. Which it does. Anyone that was a kid back in the 70s and 80s, you got around and everyone left their front door open while they mowed the back lawn. You go to the shop and leave your car idling out the front. We had rule of law then. Now we have rules-based order. It's not very orderly, is it?
By whoever the rule maker is. We're not, and the rules that you have to follow are not necessarily the rules that I have to follow. Everyone has to know their place, everyone has to know their role, and that will be assigned to you by whoever is the one making the rules. This is very different from rule of law, the concept of rule of law. This means that in rule of law, obviously, we all understand what that means. It means that, as I said before, it applies to everyone. No one is exempt. That, for example, the ICJ or the ICC can go after Uncle Sam the same way that it can go after an African head of state. The same way that it can go after Putin, it can go after Netanyahu. This is rule of law. No one is exempt from it, no one is above it. Rules-based order is a completely different concept. Why did they change that, though? Now, I think that the initial reflex that we would have for why they would have changed that, why they would have changed the terminology, and by changing the terminology, change the framework, and change the conceptual understanding of it, the reflex would be because it's a show of power, it's a show of dominance, it's a show of exactly what we're talking about here, and what Carney was talking about in other parts of his speech, that basically the rules are for our benefit, meaning the West, the rules are for Western benefit, and everyone else has to comply, which is what is implied anyway by rules-based order. You follow the rules. Compliance. And we will enforce compliance. So it looks like dominance. It looks like a show of dominance, a show of power. But I would argue, and this is touched on by what Carney is saying, that you are trying to delegitimize the concept of rule of law. You're trying to delegitimize and invalidate the institutions of the rule of law, international law, the United Nations, the ICJ, the ICC. You want to delegitimize those. Why? Because you know that within the next 20 years or so, you will not control those institutions. Because the way that the world is moving, the trajectory of the world, those institutions, including Africa is going to be 25% of the whole global population. The way that the world is moving, the global South is going to be the future of the international order. So you don't want those institutions of international law, you don't want those institutions of the rule of law to fall into the hands of those that you created those institutions to oppress. Once those institutions fall into their hands, you will be subject to them. So you want to get rid of that whole concept of universality of the rule of law, because it's going to end up being applied to you. And the whole point of it from the beginning was that it was never to be applied to you. So now you want everyone to accept the concept of rules-based order, where everyone follows rules. We don't necessarily understand why we have to follow the rules. We don't necessarily understand who's making these rules. We don't necessarily ever talk about who's making the rules, who's interpreting the rules, who's enforcing the rules, and against whom those rules are enforced. We never talk about that, but we all know. We all know who it means. But we're also just supposed to accept that, because if we accept that, then we no longer even feel that we have recourse to international law, that we no longer have recourse to the concept of the rule of law, because we've already abandoned that concept. And they want us to abandon that concept because they know perfectly well that within the next 15, 20, 25 years, that concept is going to put them in the dock. If that concept is held on to, and if those institutions are maintained, those institutions are going to fall into the hands of the people of the global South. And then they can seek justice through those means. They can actually uphold rule of law, which means that the ones who are telling us to just follow the rules and do as we're told, those are the ones who are going to be incriminated and convicted through those international institutions. So you want to destroy the legitimacy of those international institutions before somebody else takes over them.
Thank you so much. You've laid the groundwork for us to move on from. So you talked about destroying those institutions. If I'm not, if I understand you rightly, and this is really for the benefit of the listeners, you're saying the way they enforce this so-called rules-based order, it isn't equitable and it is selective. Therein, at this particular moment, it would appear that, well, at least not it would appear, that would be wrong. There seems to be an intention by the United States, perhaps the most senior of them all, to destroy one of the most critical institutions that you refer to, which, by the way, has only ever been used against those of us in Africa. And it's never been used when they break the rule of law, not the rule-based order, which they designed themselves. Talk to us about that, because it is about that policeman. Who is policing whom? And at which point are we hearing what you've just heard? Are we hearing everything that you've just laid down to us? Are our leaders hearing?
What are endeavors in World of Warcraft? Endeavors are month-long events that earn your housing neighborhood new stuff. You do tasks like kill rares, complete delves, to earn neighborhood favor and fill a shared progress bar. Milestones unlock themed vendors and rewards, so your whole neighborhood levels up together.
Sorry about that.
Aussies can now invest in what's called global private credit, one of the world's fastest growing.
Well, I think that, everything has to be, in my opinion, any geopolitical analysis of any individual situation in the world. Now, this what I'm saying now might seem a non sequitur, but inshallah I'll bring it back to what you're asking me. Everything has to be understood within the broader context. You have to connect all of the dots beyond the dots that you're looking at. The dots that you're looking at you're not going to be able to interpret them properly until you understand all of the other dots that they're connected to. You're not going to be able to understand. So for me, if you're analyzing anything geopolitically today, in any individual scenario, whether you're talking about Venezuela, you're talking about Iran, like you just had on the previous guest, you're talking about the situation with Iran, or you're talking about Gaza, you're talking about Palestine, you're talking about Venezuela, you're talking about the cartels in Mexico. Any of these topics have to be understood, and how they're being dealt with have to be understood within the context of the seismic tectonic transition that's taking place globally.
Absolutely.
Where the old post-World War II order, global order, the Bretton Woods era and so forth,
So, he's right. We're trying to look at a new world through an old lens. Now, or through a dictatorial lens, through a lens through which we are told it will be, through a lens that we are perceiving, rather than a lens that is showing us exactly what it is. We are looking at so-called advancements in technology and the so-called way forward from the opinion of the sales brochure. And just because the car salesman tells you it's a good car doesn't mean it's not a lemon. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's any good. Early Mitsubishis, for example. Actually, this is the perfect litmus test. It's the Chrysler Sigma versus the Mitsubishi Sigma. Chrysler Sigma eats it without even trying. They're stronger, they're better, they've got a better motor, better drivetrain. It's just a better car. Same car. But when Mitsubishi took over Chrysler, they made them out of cheaper parts and shittier metal. That's the perfect litmus test. Just because it's new doesn't mean it's any good. And this new world that we're moving into, it's no good. Those of us who have found tried and tested ways that work and have found that some things are left best in the traditional form, perhaps maybe we came to that traditional ideology through a lot of trial and error to get there, and now we're going to go away from something. Okay, we've fixed it to the point it works well. Leave it alone. Stop fixing it. It's working. Nah, let's keep fixing it and fix it beyond repair. Alright, now you fix something that wasn't broke and it doesn't work anymore, but it's fixed beyond repair now. Well done. Now we have to either start again or get rid of that and go back to what worked. Because there are those of us who can actually see the clip that this technology is running us towards, and that's mainly the tradesmen and the farmers of the world, the people that yep, we've got a working formula and it works really well. It's a system and it works well and it's reliable. we can fine tune that. And fine tune that. Why change it when we haven't finished fine tuning what was already working well? Now we're gonna stop rotating paddocks, are we? Cool. Now look at all the fertilisers and pesticides and insecticides that we have to use because we stopped rotating paddocks every 7 years. Which is biblical, by the way. This is why I say I'm a homeless Christian. There is nowhere for me around here. And here I am, finding a Muslim with common sense. I hope I'm giving you something to think about here. Something logical to think about, rather than the rhetoric and just running with the tribalistic ideologies of, oh, that's what the stats show. Well, the stats only show that because we're only looking at that through our lens of the demographic of people that the government brought here. See, this is where I start to get shitty. The government brought these people here, but it's the people that are having it taken out on them. I have had conversations with people, and they are right, but because of the generalisations and because of the false promises that were made to them, that we invited them here, and now we don't want them here, that's a pretty shitty... That's right? That's a pretty shitty thing to do. They call that... the irony. The Indian gibber. Oh, the Indians gave us their land and now they want it back. We take, then we bring them in to suit our purpose, and then we want to throw them away again because they no longer serve our purpose. Can you see how they see that's a bit of a fucking insult? Excuse my F-bomb. Wouldn't you feel the same? Wouldn't you be pissed off too if you uprooted your entire life, moved to somewhere else to find that you just got spat at and treated like dirt, and to be moved from there to somewhere else after spending all that time in detention? Then just get told we don't want you here anymore? I don't reckon I'd be real impressed either. Especially after we'd been pummeling their countries and making a mess of them for their resources. And regime change from something that was their problem to deal with, not ours. You pick a fight, you deserve to get a smack in the mouth. If you don't want a smack in the mouth, don't pick a fight.
Unipolar moment, that's a blip of history when America was the only remaining superpower in the world. This blip in history, this entire global order, this entire global system is being dismantled. And it's being dismantled by necessity. This isn't something, this is very important for people to understand. This isn't like, oh, we just decided to do this. They have no choice but to do this. The birth rate in Europe, I think, is across Europe is an average of about 1.5. This is well below replacement levels. In the United States, if you take away immigration, it's about 1.6. It's barely above Europe. If you look at another so-called developed economy like in South Korea, it's below 1. It's like 0.7. But if you look at, I mean, Nigeria is going to be one of the most populous countries in 2050 in the world. You look at Egypt, you look at Pakistan, you look at Bangladesh, you look at, I mean, India already surpassed China in their population. The population of the world lives, the robust replacement levels of the population of the world is in the global south. What does that mean? That means that the labor is in the global south. That means that the consumers are in the global south. That means that global capital, what I refer to as the owners and controllers of global financialized capital, the OCGFC, they understand that if you want to get any returns on your capital, where do you have to be? You have to be in the global south. The West is not reproducing. The West is falling into irrelevance. I think this has got to be one of the first times in history when a people collectively have determined that they themselves want to go extinct. They're genociding themselves by non-reproduction. So for business necessity, for financial necessity, for investment necessity, the only thing that makes sense is to transition the global order, the governmental order, the financial order, business order, the way everything works, is repositioning to the global south. And this is causing a historic or an historic complete reversal, hemispheric reversal of traditional roles or historical roles. I won't say traditional, but historical roles. What we have all known for all of our lifetimes, and our parents knew, and our grandparents knew, where, for example, the wealth and the resources were flowing from the south to the north. Meanwhile, violence was flowing from the north to the south.
Domination was flowing from the north to the south, and the money was flowing from the south to the north. This is what we've always known. Now that's reversing.
Little by little, it's reversing, because it has no other thing to do but to reverse. So everything has to be understood within this context. However, this is a massive change. This is a massive, mind-bending change that everyone has to recalibrate to. And we're all very steeped in the colonial narrative. We're all very steeped in the American supremacist narrative, the Western supremacist narrative, that we take as fact, because it was a fact at one time. Elements of it were a fact at one time. Certainly not the civilizational elements, but the power elements, the supremacy elements, functionally were true at one time. But this is increasingly, I'm sorry to talk so long, but increasingly these frameworks are obsolete. So it's a very significant challenge for any head of state in the global south, any analyst in the global south, any financial experts, economic experts, economists and so forth in the global south, as well as activists and organizers and so forth, to wrap their heads around and to recalibrate their thinking to understand that this is an obsolete paradigm, and to try to recalibrate to a new paradigm where we understand, for example, like I say, to understand properly that the change in the terminology from rule of law to rules-based order actually signals weakness on the part of the West. It actually signals we know that we're losing, we know that we no longer have the ability to even stand behind a podium and talk about the rule of law after Iraq, after Afghanistan, after Abu Ghraib, after Guantanamo, on and on and on. We don't have the credibility, no one can take us seriously to even talk about that, so we have to talk about another framework, rules-based order. This is a concession on their part. This is a defeat on their part, knowing, as I say also, that they want to now delegitimize those institutions that will ultimately, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, in the future, fall into the hands of the global south. Their victims, their historical victims, are going to take over the institutions of justice and be able to actually hold them accountable. So they want to delegitimize the concept and the institutions that implement those concepts. But this is a major change that everyone has to try to wrap their head around. So I don't know the extent to which people are hearing it. I don't know the extent to which people are understanding it. But alhamdulillah, it's more than it ever has been before, with the formation of BRICS, for example, the creation of more alternative payment systems, different payment rails and so forth. The petro-yuan is a thing now. Alternatives are being created all the time. So this indicates that the leaders of the global south do understand this, but I don't know the extent to which they understand how much weakness and how much desperation is actually being signaled by America's statements and America's behavior.
That brings me, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because
I don't know if he's going to get into it or not. I'm going to explain my perspective on politics versus religion. Culture and cultural beliefs-based systems go hand in hand. Australia doesn't have a culture other than the Aboriginal culture. We don't have a culture. People keep going on about, we love our culture. What culture are you talking about? Football, meat pies, kangaroos, holding cars, get on the piss on the weekend? Football, cricket, doing dumb shit. We don't really have a culture. We are occupiers of somebody else's land. Like it or not, I've got Abo in me and my mum's a 10 bob pom. Right? And history is proving that there was somebody here before them. Who? Don't know. Not relevant. Okay? We have never been united and at peace long enough with one another to even form a culture. We almost did. We almost did. Back when we had Paul Hogan and and Mick Dunn and Ernie Dingo in a movie together. Back when we had the Cracker Brothers playing football. We almost united. But then, you know, the corporate blacks had to get their £10 a flesh, didn't they? Clown doing wheelies there. Corned beef, relish and cheese. Apples. Now, the problem is, those things should influence our politics. To keep public peace, to keep a functioning, non-abusive relationship between the people. A unified culture that's formed together. Otherwise, we're just going to keep up the shitstorm and the stupid fight. It's never going to end. Like a bunch of kids fighting over crayons in a sandpit. We're shitting their nappies. Which is what I see when I watch Question Time. When I watch anything in Parliament, it's retarded. I do that when I say retarded. I don't know why I said it. It's retarded. The opposite to advanced. If you're going to put a whole bunch of different base and belief systems together that clash and collide, it's never going to work. But we can't blame one another for that because we didn't do it. Government did. And this is why I keep saying we need to stop paying government. We need to take their allowance off them because they're wasting the money and they're being abusive to mummy and daddy who give them their allowance. To us. They're biting the hand that feeds them and we keep feeding them. Okay? I'm going to email this to you, Lee and Pauline, just so you can see a perspective on how we see it from our point of view. How it actually is. From the lower socio-economic demographic of this country. Do you want to see my life? I've got a bunch of stuff in one bedroom, push bikes and stuff and old collectible things. This is a lifetime of what's left after a bloke tried to murder me with a hammer. I have an old drum kit, I have an old guitar, a keyboard that I can't play, but my daughter does. Some books and old things, tangible things. A big thing of Legos down there. It's just me and the kids. Got some chickens out the back, a bit of a veggie garden. And we're happy. We're quite happy by this. The way things are going, I know that the plan is to take this off me. Do I own it? I don't have papers to say I own it. I pay a lot of money for it. I've paid a lot of money that I will never get back, which is why I believe I'm entitled to this place. This is our land, not government's land. State doesn't own land. Council doesn't own land. Government doesn't own land. Which is why I believe there should be term limits. Big time term limits. Big time. But a system that remains the same when it works, all accountable to the people. With checks and balances in place to ensure that it remains the same, like recall elections. Yeah, when you read through my stuff, you're going to see a bit of stuff in there and think, oh, there's more to this guy with no teeth than what he looks. Yeah, quite a lot. Quite a lot. I don't do well with crowds and a bunch of mongers that are all up there. I don't do fakery. I don't do plastic. I don't do suck ass. It doesn't work for me. Which is why I'd never make it as a politician. Because I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to stand here and listen to this fucking rubbish, and I'll just walk out. I had more respect for myself than that, than to listen to lies and drivel, tomfoolery shenanigans, skullduggery, and dancing around the truth so as to not have to lie, filibustering. Hyperbole. So religion's got to go. I didn't say faith. I didn't say Christian. Christian in its true form, not this Talmudic Judeo bullshit, which is nothing to do with Christian. Judaism is anti-Christian. Did you know that? Did you know that Benjamin Netanyahu is Polish? And all of those Ashkenazi Jews are Nazi Jews from Eastern Europe. Yeah. Do some digging. I don't listen to the hype. I go and have a look. I do my own fact checking. I research. I pressure test things. Does it stand up to the heat? No, it melts. Well, it's probably plastic then, isn't it? I'm not trying to be a smart ass about things. Please don't take it as a smart ass. I know I can be confronting. Trust me, a lot of things were confronting to me too until I accepted that I was being a sheep. I was just believing things that I agreed with. Which is what makes you wrong. And you can't right a wrong. But you can correct a mistake. And trust me, I've made plenty.
I have an excerpt that I'd like you to listen to from Marco Rubio from the speech he made at the Munich conference, where I can see you're smiling. Let me just play it for our listeners.
This is the path that President Trump and the United States has embarked upon. It is the path we ask you here in Europe to join us on. It is a path we have walked together before and hope to walk together again. For 5 centuries, before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe.
There it is, empire.
But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest.
Before he goes on, see the state of his face? And if you notice, he's right here. He spent some time in a very, very rough Middle Eastern prison. Very rough. This man's been tortured to hell and back. So yeah, you are right, there is some bad elements. And he doesn't deny that. But this is a traditional real Muslim. Why do you think he was in there?
Looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires that entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come. Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you.
Packages to Dreamland.
Shahid, tell me something. When I see again, I hope you're all watching on YouTube. You will see the expression on his face. Here's the thing. Could that be possibly the most bombastic, unapologetic, white Western supremacist pro-colonialism speech ever? Or did I not capture it?
No, of course it is. Of course it is. I'm laughing because it sounds like he's inviting someone on a Valentine's date. Let's do this together. We can do this together. And he's talking about going on a crime spree. But what I would say is, and this is why I say that you have to contextualize everything within the context of the global transition that is taking place and that is irreversible. There's not another way that the future can develop, just practically speaking. And it's underway, and Rubio knows that it's underway. Trump knows that it's underway. And this is why I separate, when I talk about the OCGFC, the owners and controllers of global financialized capital, I say that there are two main factions of that. There's what I call the A-national OCGFC, which is, they're not tied to any nation. They don't have a nationalistic loyalty to any country. You're talking about the BlackRocks, the Vanguards, all of these investment funds and so forth, the international, transnational corporations, transnational finance and so on. They're not tied to America specifically. They're not tied to American interests specifically. They don't fly under a flag. It's just a collection of logos. It's basically a sort of a floating supernatural, supranational empire without an imperial hub. And then there's the nationalistic OCGFC, which was the beginning of it, which arose domestically in the United States through the military-industrial complex. And they're represented politically by the neocons, the neoconservatives. And they believe in American supremacy, Western supremacy, ideologically, and they believe that American hegemony, global hegemony, back in the old days, they used to talk about the end of history, that khalas, now America is just the global superpower and always will be, which just shows you how delusional they are. As if this is just a divinely ordained natural fact, no matter what actually happens in the real world. So there are still factions that are, there was the ideological aspect of it, and then there was the real profit motive behind it, which was that the American, the post-World War II, within the context of World War II, in fact, America built their economy through the military-industrial complex, through the weapons sector, the defense sector, the aerospace sector, and all tech, even what we're using right now, was developed for military purposes. This was the driver for the American economy. Now, the military-industrial complex is just one portfolio within the broader portfolio of the A-national OCGFC, the A-national. I mean, it's just one portfolio within the file of BlackRock, within the file of Vanguard. It's just one. It used to be the only one that mattered, but it's not the only one that matters anymore. So, A-national capital, and I say A-national in the same way that you would say amoral or atheistic or so forth, meaning not transnational, non-national. They don't have anything to do with any nation. They're a-national. They transcend national borders and national interests, including the national interests of the United States of America. But domestically, you still have the military-industrial complex. You still have the nationalistic faction of the OCGFC. And those are Republicans, by and large, but also Democrats, both parties anyway. It's just, you know, as everyone says, these are just two wings of the same bird, the same predatory bird, the two political factions, the two political parties. So Rubio, because if I remember correctly, it was either Rubio or it was J.D. Vance. I think it might have been J.D. Vance, actually. Before Trump actually even entered office, he gave an interview where he was acknowledging that America's unipolar power status was an anomaly of history, and that everyone has to understand that this is not meant to last, and that it cannot last. And it already is gone. Functionally, factually, practically speaking, America is a regional hegemon. It's a regional hegemon. It is no longer a global power, the way that we all still think about it. They can't do anything unilaterally anymore. If you think about it, look back at what they've done recently. Even Venezuela was not done unilaterally. They had to work with Venezuelans themselves. They had to work with China and get permission from China and from Russia to do what they did. They can't act unilaterally anymore. And the same goes for Iran. I mean, that was your last topic with your last speaker. The same goes with Iran.
Yeah.
America is shackled by their own inability to act unilaterally. They can't act the way they used to act. Rubio knows this. Rubio knows this very well. But he has to appease that faction. See, understand, Trump is aligned with the A-national faction. This is misleading because he's all about make America great again. He's all about MAGA. He's all about America rebuilding and powerful and this and that and the other. This is all packaging for a product that does the opposite of what it says on the tin. Trump's job is the dismantling. Trump's job is the withdrawal of America from the global stage. Trump's job is to dismantle American empire, and he's doing it very well. And if you look at the actual outcome of his policies...
Pardon me?
I need to interrupt you from what you said there, because
Sure.
in a world
Sure.
where great powers routinely, all the time, they ignore and circumvent legal constraints, there's the issue of sovereignty. You say they don't act unilaterally anymore. Well, perhaps you're right, but you know, on Christmas Day in Nigeria, the United States struck a part of Nigeria, a state in Nigeria, under the guise of attacking terrorist camp. Since then, we have some 150-200 troops, American soldiers on ground in Nigeria, including a drone refueling point, etc. When you say America no longer has that power, I'm sure most of my listeners are thinking, well, what is he talking about? Because they're here. And this is something that's actually dividing this country, because some think America should be here because we have a huge issue with terrorists, etc. And others are saying, but this is an infringement on our sovereignty. And our academics have actually written an open letter to the president saying, this is unprecedented, we don't want it.
Work smarter, not harder. Make my time, me time. With Husqvarna Automo.
Yes, but what is the agreement between the Nigerian government and America with regards to this?
Therein lies the issue, right?
Therein lies the issue.
Therein lies your point.
This is what I'm saying. It's not unilateral. It's not, we can put our troops anywhere we want, with whether you like it or not. No, you have to agree to it. Even if you don't necessarily admit to agreeing to it, you do have to agree to it. And even if that, how can I say this? The agreement can also be coerced economically, and it can be coerced because, and this is why it's very important to go back to your earlier question about whether or not the leaders are listening, and why I think it is so important for the leaders, the heads of state in the global south, to understand the actual true position of the United States in terms of its actual capacity for power projection. Because if you're still operating on a paradigm where you think that the slave master is young and healthy and can lash you, when actually he has become old and decrepit and he barely has the strength to lift that whip, you're still going to treat him like he's a threat that he isn't. And America at this point is not the threat that they used to be. And even the extent to which they were a threat in the past was to one extent or another also inflated and exaggerated. But it's much different today than it was 30 years ago. It's even different than it was 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. So, like, for example, I mean, I can't talk specifically about the details of the arrangement between the Nigerian government and America with regards to those troops. But I can guarantee you that America is not going to be able to do anything in Nigeria without permission. I can guarantee you that they're not going to be able to do anything in Nigeria without permission. So yes, to go back to what I was saying, Trump's job is the dismantling. But in order to do the dismantling, he has to package it as the opposite. He's packaging it as Make America Great Again. He's packaging it as building America up. But if you look at the outcome of his policies, whether it's tariffs, whether it's the excluding countries from SWIFT, whether it's even unilateral sanctions, all of these types of measures are doing two things at the same time. One of them is withdrawing America in the importance of America to the global financial system, the global economic system, and global prestige. And it's also facilitating and expediting the creation of alternatives to America. It's for example, with the SWIFT exclusions and with unilateral sanctions, okay, if we see that you're going to weaponize the dollar, well, we don't need to use it then. We'll look for alternatives. We'll look for other ways to deal with our economic issues. We'll find other ways to settle our transactions globally. And that's been happening, as you know. So everything that Trump has done, all of his policies have actually withdrawn America, retracted America, contracted America, and dismantled their global prestige, dismantled their global power and their ability to actually project power. So if you look objectively, without narrative, and without the obsolete paradigms of 50 years ago, then you'll see that America, in fact, is already a regional hegemon. Yes, they have global impact. They have the ability to impact things globally, but not any different from a China or a Russia or any other major player that is considered to be a regional hegemon. America has already reached the status of being a regional hegemon.
Which then leads me to my next question. You mentioned them already. The China and Russia factor. How are they exploiting the current weaknesses in the system? And how should we view them? Is this a case of, better Russia, better China than America? Or should we now, knowing what we've learned and what we've experienced, and we as the global south and indeed Africa, knowing our experience with the Americans and what we've seen, should we be playing with them cautiously? Talk to us, unpack that factor. I'm going to give you a minute, because we still have a lot to cover and I've got to open up the line.
Oh, well, okay, I'll try. You should treat any other player cautiously, because every other player, geopolitically, the rule is everyone is pursuing their own interests. Am I still connected? Okay. Every nation, every geopolitical player. Okay.
Yeah, it's red, but I can see you.
Okay. You should be cautious, always. But I don't think that there's any rational reason to expect Russia or China to behave like the United States. And I also don't think that it's rational or reasonable to imagine that there needs to be a globally dominant power that controls everything. Because that was a moment in history that's already passed. The so-called unipolar moment has already passed. It's already passed. So there's no need to think about replacing it. But you should. Every country needs to think strategically about their relationships in terms of how China. There's no way that I can do that in 1 minute to talk about what China is doing, what Russia is doing, and so forth.
Okay, I'll give you an extra minute. I'll give you an extra minute because they've already started calling. Go ahead. We'd like to hear from you, Shahid. So I'll give you an extra minute. Go ahead.
Well, okay. Let me put it this way. What's happening is when you talk about a multipolar world, functionally, practically, what that means is that the world is being divided into spheres of influence. Spheres of influence that are dominated within their area by regional hegemons or collections of regional hegemons. So, for example, the GCC, specifically Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and Turkey and Egypt, these are the regional hegemons now, for various reasons, for the Middle East and North Africa. This is their sphere of influence. This belongs to them in terms of influence. They're the ones who are going to be controlling outcomes there. But they're doing it also in connection with China, in connection with Russia, and this is through like the BRICS framework and so forth. China controls East Asia completely. I mean, there's no concept of, it's a completely unrealistic concept if you're asking, for example, Malaysia or Indonesia or whatever, or Singapore, to cut their relations with China. This is an impossibility, and no one takes it seriously. So you're seeing the development of these spheres of influence. America is concentrating on the Western Hemisphere. They want to be able to control as much as possible, but it's, I don't know how much time I'll have to talk about it, but America wants to be able to control the Western Hemisphere, their traditional or historical backyard, Central and South America. They want to maintain control over that, and they want to be able to control Europe. And they're satisfied with that. Africa is up for grabs. Africa is up for grabs. But you're going to be, but where you are, Nigeria is a regional hegemon. You're massive. Your economy is massive. Your population is massive and growing. You're going to become one of the most, if not the most, important and influential countries in Africa. Say in the ASEAN region, it's Indonesia and Singapore. Singapore for financial reasons, Indonesia for population reasons, for manufacturing purposes and so forth. So it's everything is getting broken up into these spheres of influence. So there's no necessarily a reason to think about, well, which power is going to dominate the world? No power is going to dominate the world. The world is going to be divided into regional hegemons and regional spheres of influence, which is the way it has always been in history.
Welcome to Rest Point. For heading out with your crew to catch the latest gig, for toasting...
And Nigeria better get itself together. Okay, you can call back. I could not interrupt him. 0201-277-0993.
I apologize.
No, not at all, Shahid. You're here to share your knowledge and expertise and, and thoughts with us. Gosh, people pay for this. We appreciate getting it for free. 0809-597-5805. Okay, I'm coming to your calls now. Make it short, sharp, succinct. Hello.
Yeah, good evening, Maduka from Keshta.
Go ahead, Maduka.
This is a rebellion. This is new teaching. This is new learning. I may say so. But again, it will take a long time for those of us in Africa or and countries like that to really win ourselves of the fear of America as the policeman of the world, even when they are not. So what does your guest suggest that how does the consciousness, how are we going to raise it for people to understand and for African leaders to understand that you can stand and talk, just like the way Burkina Faso and other people told American bases, America to take out the things, and they did. And now it's happening up.
Thank you,
because they
Maduka.
couldn't have. And they needed the support there. Thank you.
Thank you, Maduka. And I really like his question because I think, it's when the ordinary citizens of Africa, like, how can we do this? Let me just answer one more call. Hello.
Hello?
Yes. Good afternoon.
This is Franklin.
Franklin, go ahead.
Yes, so I just want to ask a question. Because, considering how, I don't know, should I call it, bullying America is getting these days, and how it just grows, and and don't care how it affects the country they're trying to invade or whatever the country that is in. Do you think there's a possibility that Nigeria could get colonized again?
Good question.
I would really love to know that. I feel like our leaders are not paying attention to that, and whatever they throw at them, they just do like slave and master kind of thing.
Thank you.
So I would really love to know if there's a possibility that Nigeria could get colonized again.
Thank you very much. Stay listening. Excellent. You've got two very strong questions there, Shahid. Maduka wants to know, Franklin, I'm remembering first. Franklin wants to know if there's a possibility that Nigeria could become an American colony again, because he doesn't think Nigerian, you're smiling, he doesn't think Nigerian leaders or leadership is awake to see what America, or sharp enough to see what America is doing. Amaduka wants to know, pretty much what I asked you earlier, how can we stand up to America? How can our leaders take a leaf from what the likes of, little Burkina Faso did, and etc.? How can they do that? The lines are going, so I'm going to be strict with you, sir. Time-wise.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, I'll have to keep them for 4 hours,
Well, I mean, you gave me a very broad topic about the rules-based order and so forth. It's a very broad topic. It deserves a much longer session. I'd be happy to come back anytime. Obviously, it's my honor. Okay. Well, there is the perception that you have of the West, and then there's the reality of what the West can do. So, whether you stand up, okay, with regards to colonization, obviously not. Nigeria is not going to be colonized again, but you have to get rid of the colonized mentality. You have to get rid of the psychological colonization in your own minds. And that's for your own good. Not because America is going to be able to keep you under their thumb otherwise, because their thumb is getting smaller by the day. They don't have the power to colonize you again. So you are afraid of a boogeyman that died a while back. You're afraid of a boogeyman who's already anemic, who can't do anything to you anymore significantly. So this is one of the things that people have to understand about when America, for example, threatens to withdraw aid to Africa, to South Africa, to Nigeria, or to wherever. They're not actually trying to coerce you. You need to understand what's happening. They don't have the money. They're trying to make it look like we're threatening you with this. They don't have the money. They can't afford to give that to you anymore. And like I said, they're trying to withdraw. Whether you're trying to hold on to their legs as they're trying to walk out of the room, and afraid they're gonna colonize you again, where you won't let them go. You need to let them go. And if you don't let them go, they're gonna try and push you away because they're trying to get out. They're trying to get out. They're trying to get out of that position. They've taken off their uniform as the global policeman, the world's policeman. They took off their uniform. They're trying to retire. And you keep trying to bring them back into the service. But they don't have the ability, they don't have the power, they don't have the will, they don't have the drive, they don't have the ability to do that anymore. So whether you get your mind right or not, the reality is the reality. America doesn't have the power to be a global hegemon anymore. They don't have the power and they don't have the will to be a global hegemon anymore. Mark Rubio be damned. So you need to get your own head right just for your own sake, just so you can sleep at night with some tranquility, because otherwise you're believing in a delusion that doesn't exist anymore. And the first question I think was about how people can get.
How can they stand up to America?
Right. Right. First of all, with regards to, I remember I had a little trouble hearing it, but he was talking about it's going to take a very long time before people can wrap their heads around this, before people can change and so forth.
Yeah.
Colonization was for 400, 500 years. Okay, you were under vicious, savage, brutal colonization for centuries. Look at what is already happening just within the last 10 years, just within the last decade, just within the last 20 years. What has happened? I don't think that anyone could have possibly imagined that countries that had been subjugated for centuries could already have risen as quickly as they have. The resilience is absolutely breathtaking. The ability to come back, the ability to stand up after you've been under somebody's boot for 500 years is absolutely breathtaking. It's staggering. So I think that you underestimate the ability of these nations, the ability of these people to reassert themselves and to stand up with their back straight and their shoulders back and tell America where to go. Because what they have already accomplished is phenomenal. What they have already accomplished is phenomenal when you look at the history that they've suffered. So I think that their ability to bounce back is much greater than you might give them credit for, and that you might be giving yourself credit for. You should be very proud of what all of the nations in the global south, all of the nations in Africa. And okay, maybe your government isn't the way you want it to be. Maybe they're not making all the right decisions yet, but they're a lot stronger than they were 30 years ago. And the same, just look at the Sahel countries and so forth. These things are happening, and it's happening at the tail end of centuries of persecution and subjugation. And their ability to actually stand themselves upright in such a short period of time, I think, should make everybody proud.
Thank you very much.
Since starting with pay.com.au, we're able to streamline our processes and all our bills are paid.
Having downed Atragan the Grand Tormentor, Lightbringer crown in hand, Valissa Dawnsworn was finally ready to slay, build, decorate, and show off in a home of your own in Azeroth. Adventure is calling you home.
Hello. Hello.
Good evening again, yeah.
Good evening.
Number one, I don't agree with the comment that America is not as inflation as they used to be. Maybe for another day we discuss that. Because America will get anything they want anywhere all over the world. Nobody will stop there. That's one. My question is this, man.
But Titilopa, did you hear what he said? What he said is they will not do it. So for instance, America cannot be acting in Nigeria without collaboration with our government. That's what he's saying.
There's never been a time from 200 years ago that America acted alone. They've always gone with other people. For instance, look at what they did in Libya, look at what they did elsewhere. They always go with people, and that is power. That power has not reduced. It is even getting stronger.
Okay.
But they were too bullying and what they have been on that front. This is my question mark. During the week, there was State of Nation address, and the Virginia governor and other Democrats said no to what Donald Trump said. Don't you think if the power equation changes in the capital area, maybe the upper house or the lower house goes to the Democrats, is that going to stop Donald Trump excesses? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So when power changes in the next, if power changes in the next election, will that curb Donald Trump's excesses? That's one. I have a question here. Cecile Gay, seeing those ridiculous brazen demands that Riley Moore is sending, to Trump and the US troops in Nigeria, can we be certain that President Tinubu has not already sold Nigeria to Donald Trump and his cronies for cheap? That's Emmanuel from Lagos. I can't tell you anything on that because our president hasn't actually issued a statement to us, Shahid, on that. We just know what's going on. We haven't heard anything officially. But I'd like you to respond to Titi Lokwe with regards to if power changes, and given the State of the Union speech where, the Democrats they protested with their voice. Do you think that power could possibly change hands in the next elections? And if it does, do you think they can curb Donald Trump's excesses and perhaps bring things, if you like, back to where it was before?
No, absolutely not. Because first of all, I don't believe that you can characterize what Donald Trump is doing as excesses. Donald Trump is, as I say, overseeing the dismantling of American empire and the contraction of America and the withdrawing of America, and he is doing something like you can put the Nigerian situation in the context of appeasement of the nationalistic faction of the OCGFC, the military-industrial complex. They have traditionally made all of their money through war and disruption and so forth. Well, I need to give them a carrot. I need to give them something. They need to drop bombs somewhere. They need to be able to put troops somewhere. They need to be able to arm something. So I will ask the Nigerian government, will you let us do this? We have a semi-plausible reason to do this that has some level of credibility, because saving people from terrorists, Muslims and whatnot, that's somewhat plausible. So is this enough? I mean, like, even you mentioned it. I was watching your when you were talking to the other guest about Iran and the fact that the Trump administration asked Iran, would it be okay with you if we bomb just over here in your territory, and then you can bomb us back, and then we call it a day? This is both a way of politically resolving something and a way of appeasing the nationalistic faction of the OCGFC, because they still want to make their money. Now, the way that they're going to make their money moving forward is going to be domestically, through militarized policing, through the incarceration industrial complex, through surveillance, through drones and whatnot, domestically within the United States, and conflict in Europe. This is what I'm telling you. The hemisphere reversal is underway. The violence is going to be in the north, and the money and the stability is going to be in the global south. This is a role reversal, hemispherically. This is what's already underway. It's already happening. Okay, I'm sorry. With regards to whether it's going to change or not. I'm sorry?
I want you to make a comment on the Epstein files. What are your thoughts, if you can do that in 30 seconds?
Rich people acting like rich people. Nothing shocking.
Shahid Bolsen. Is it rich people or Western people?
Well, definitely rich Western people, because Western people are doing it whether they got the money or not.
Thank you so much. Shahid, we're going to have you back. I always feel like we should have you every month, because we're always learning.
I'd be very happy to, anytime at all. It's absolutely my pleasure and my honor and my privilege. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
And Ramadan Kareem, yes.
Thank you so much, and to you too, sister.
All right, bye-bye.
Are restless nights and stressful days getting the better of you? Try Caruso's Ashwagandha 7500 1950 at Chemist Warehouse. It will help manage stress, relieve sleeplessness and improve cognitive function. Live, look, feel well at Chemist Warehouse.
5% of the population, or 1 out of 20, claims to have had a near-death experience. But they also found an even greater percentage that had hellish experiences.
There are a subset of folks who experience NDEs across all religious worldviews, and they seem to talk about the same typical experiences: a bright light, a tunnel, feeling good. But that's in the first few minutes. What happens when you're dead for a longer period of time? This is frightening. We all have to face death, ladies and gentlemen. But if we don't get right with God on His terms, not ours, the fate that awaits us is absolutely horrific. What happens when we die? This is the age-old question that human beings have been wrestling with for millennia. Now, if you're a Christian, you have a biblically based answer.
Fair enough. I'm dozed off. I must be tired. Sorry about that. I dozed. Well, I'm not really doing it. Dozed for 50 minutes. See, to say that we have people with simplistic solutions that are unworkable to complex problems, no, we don't. We have people trying to offer simple solutions to small problems that combined create a complexity. It seems like complex problems because it's legislature on top of legislature on top of legislature. It's band-aids on top of band-aids over a gaping wound. We're keeping the pus in. A boil that needs to be lanced. Literally. Like, it's... Everybody has all these false, misconceived ideas on what a Christian is, what a Muslim is, what an Australian is. It's never going to work. It's just not going to work. You tell me what an Australian is. Then you go and ask somebody down the road, what an Australian is. What does it mean to be Australian? Like, what does it actually mean to be Australian? You ask anybody to explain to you what Australian culture is. What is Australian culture? Not your mates, not people you know, not cherry pick the answers on some statistics bullshit, like there's lies, absolute lies, and then there's statistics. As Samuel Clements said. That's Mark Twain's real name. Nobody has an answer. Other than football, met boys, kangaroos, holding cars, get on the piss, you'll be right, mate. Bugger! There's not much of a culture. What is our society? You heard Shahid Bolsen say himself. Magna Carta is from which all of the world's law derives, which is based off what? Christian law. It's based off Christian law. And Muslim says it himself. It's based off the Ten Commandments and the Golden Rule, which is, in a nutshell, do no harm. So if you've got to do harm to uphold the rule of law, that's not the rule of law, that's rules-based order, which is social cohesion, which is coercion, which is behaving under duress the way someone wants you to behave. There's nothing moral about that. A moral person behaves in a specific way because he has the integrity to do so. Because he knows it's right. Because he has a clear picture of what is right and what is wrong, and what the consequences are to his own mortal soul, or to his immortal soul. Agreed upon. Not rules-based order, agreed upon. Law. Law that we can all agree upon. If it's not a basic agreed upon law, then it's not a law, because the law stands up on its own. It doesn't need propping up. It doesn't need enforcing, it just is. You'll notice in there where I've said about you've got the only copy. I don't need another copy because I just know it. You were seeing there where I mentioned about bringing everything all back under ownership of the Australian people as the Commonwealth, with the Commonwealth being public wealth and general goods of a nation, which is the people. If you bring all that back under our ownership, but there's only one way you're going to do it, and it ain't going to be pretty. The only way you're going to do it is to continue to trade with the BRICS nations. You're not going to like it, but that's the way it is. Because why? Because China owns the place. Unfortunately, Paul Keating is right. How do I know Paul Keating is right? Because he's the one that signed us up to all the 99-year lease agreements. Oh, shut up. Deuce. So it's not a problem till you make it somebody else's problem. That. You can see Gavin out riding his bike with his boy. Shame to see you still got a house full of dickheads. Anyway. You see, you have to answer the boil. There's no point just... It's like our health system. And I speak to the Minister for Health about all the issues I got going on at the hospital. And they want to offer me somebody from the hospital to apologise to me. No. How does their apology to me fix them not having somebody trained in burns when I've got second and third degree burns to my legs and they don't know what to do with it? Getting better now. Getting better. What's it been now? December, January, February, 3.5 months. It still itch like crazy. Yeah, Lee. I'm not going to worry with Pauline. Pauline's on the way out. She admitted that. So realistically, her heart's not really in it. Her kids are grown up. Mine aren't. You're all in good stead. This is how the people see it. You might not even see it this way. This is how the people see it. You've inherited a government position. You can't say that the door wasn't open for you. You just had to walk through it. Same as me having a panel beating trade. But I'll never panel beat again. No way. Not even remotely interested. It's a dinosaur's trade. Why? Runaway technology. It's ran away on us. I'm also a farmer. I'm also a fiberglasser and a spray painter. But robots are taking over. I'm a dinosaur with 3 trades. And a certificate in agriculture who ran harvesting and planting crews for like 6 years and 4 years as a farmhand. Now we're going to tackle immigration. Okay, how do you propose to do that? So it's alright to say, oh, we're going to kick them all back out. Okay, what are you going to do about the wage decrease in a situation where we have to actually pay to live? We actually have to pay full taxes and rent and feed our families and everything else on absolute shit money. Because when I was running harvesting crews, I was on well over $20 an hour, and now you're lucky to get $18 an hour to do the same job. I was on like $26 to $28 an hour, sometimes $32 an hour. Harvesting cauliflower and broccoli. My knees will never put up that again. I've had knee surgeries. I'm getting old, but I'm not on the way out. I've lived that part of life. Now it's my turn to ensure that there's some kind of a foreseeable, plannable future for my kids. I can't plan a week at a time, any more than 2 weeks at a time. How the hell can they have a 10-year plan? So I see a bit further into... I'm getting a bit animated. I see a bit further into the future than most people. Because I try to plan that far. How can we? When the government swaps and changes and fits and farts and carries it around from election to election, and not one of you, I'm going to use the word you intentionally, not one of you follows through with the promise. And until I see it, you're all part of the same club. Until I see it. Words are cheap. Extremely. They're so cheap they're worthless. Fruit. By their fruits you shall know them, not by the shade of their branches, because that's just a shadow. Okay, Lee, can you see how a conversation one-on-one will be very much different to what you would get out of me, or especially out of me there today? You're not going to get anything of any value out of me in that scenario. I hate to say it, and I don't mean to sound like an ass, but I saw a Ponzi scheme in the making. Not all Ponzi schemes are money Ponzi schemes. Some of them are hierarchical and foundational Ponzi schemes, cementing your foundation with someone under you. I'm not saying that that's what's happening, but it was definitely the style of sales pitch. I pulled a little experiment. The lady was right, and yeah, I clapped. I don't clap just because everyone else is clapping. And the other lady from Burnie with the hearing aids, I can't remember her name. She's right in what she said, but she is extremely small-minded, wants to do it all facts, figures and numbers, and you can't. People aren't commodities for which to carry an economy on the back of. An economy is there to carry the people. But no one was clapping. That's all it took, and then everyone started clapping. I went, wow. You see how I understand the psyche of people? I'm an observer. I've been an observer my entire life, and the only kid from a broken home, from a Catholic school to Reese High School in the 80s. I've always been the outsider looking in, and I've taken notice. I take so much notice, it's almost scary to see just how easily manipulated people are. I'm not a manipulative person. I'm just confrontingly honest. It's not a brag point. That's a, why isn't everybody else dishonest? I wasn't always. I paid the price for it. I was diabolical. I was a horrendous person once. Reprehensible. I was terrible. Not a criminal, not a thief. Just inconsiderate. Even though I had the ability to look at life from everybody else's perspective, I realised how nobody else gave a shit. So I kind of figured, everyone else is just evil pieces of shit, so I don't care. And then I realised that's what makes you an evil piece of shit. And I'd like to teach my kids better than that. I hope you reach out to me, Lee. I really do. I actually really do. I pick up on vibes very quick. I read people quite well. some people I pick up straight away and I hang around just long enough to get intel out of them. Yeah, I'm that kind of person. I can infiltrate quite well. Again, ask me granddad. But I'm not here to. I'm not in this to infiltrate. Like I said, I'm brutally honest. If I was, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that I want to be involved to see the inner workings of things. I'll tell you in a way that you'll think that that's not dishonest. You'll willingly give me that information. As long as you're patriotic to your country. Yeah, I know that line pretty well too. Guess what I'm trying to say is like I'm quite open to work with you if you're going to be straight up and honest. As soon as I smell a rat, I'm gone. So God bless you and thank you, because I actually did get good vibes from you, Lou.